Welcome back to Beat the Count. We are live from Sweet Science Boxing Gym here in Hawthorne, California. I'm your host, Sean Fitzgerald, and with me, as always, my partner in crime, lead writer for Supreme Boxing, Anthony Stacks Saldana. What's up, brother?
What's up, man?
Welcome back. You've been gone for a little bit.
Oh, just a little bit, man. Back in Vegas, but now back home in Hawthorne, so feeling good.
Bearing gifts, I see.
Yes.
The lovely glove at the front of the table.
Yeah, you have a nice autographed glove from all the living inductees of the 2019 Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame, except for Bernard Hopkins. But you got Chiquita Gonzalez on there. You got Juan Manuel Marquez. You have the Pocket Rocket Wayne McCullough, Winky Wright, Hasim Rahman, Vinny Pazienza. So you got you a nice little gift there.
That's a prestigious glove right there.
Exactly. What I heard, though, is that you didn't have the clout to get Bernard Hopkins, though.
No, I didn't, man. He looked at me.
You didn't have that kind of pull, though, right?
No.
Stacks didn't have that pull.
Yeah, not with Bernard, man.
And, of course, to my left, making his Showtime boxing return on September 20th in his hometown of Midland, Texas, undefeated, the West Texas Warrior, Michael Dutchover. Welcome back, brother.
Thank you for having me.
What's
that sounded
up,
good
Mike?
right there. That sounded
You
really
liked
good.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, man. This is the start of my ring announcer career. It'll be coming soon.
We might get you on there.
I don't think I have the voice for it. We'll figure it out.
See.
I can't compete with the likes of who all does it today.
Lupe
Contreras and Michael Buffer and Jimmy Lennon Jr., Jim Fitzgerald, wink. Shout
Hi,
out.
your uncle.
Stacks is up there too.
Stacks?
Nah,
Yeah, Stacks,
man.
give him the intro. Give him the intro.
What intro, though?
He pretended like you don't know.
And fighting out of the blue corner, the West Texas Warrior, Michael Dutchover.
My ears
Bang.
hurt. My
Bang.
ears hurt.
I like
He goes
it.
bang.
I like it.
Oh,
man. So, fighting on Showtime, you're headlining the card in your hometown of Texas, man. It's a homecoming for you. Your first time ever fighting as a professional back in Midland. How does that feel, man?
It's amazing, you know. To me, it's a dream come true. You know, it's just like homecoming back in Texas. You know, football is big back there, and it's my homecoming. I haven't fought there since I was an amateur, and you know, going back there as a professional, fighting on Showtime as the main event, like it just doesn't get better than that. So I'm excited, training hard, harder than ever, and you know, I'm ready to go.
So let me ask you, this is your second appearance on
yes.
ShoBox. Your first appearance on ShoBox earlier this year, you had a first-round stoppage, first-round KO. And I was curious about that because I'm wondering if you feel as though the first-round KO helps build your brand because like people like the knockouts, or if you would have actually preferred to get to showcase more of your skills and experience in that. Where do you fall on it?
No, I feel that this fight is going to get to showcase my skill a lot more. You know, I'm fighting you know, a top-of-the-line opponent, and, you know, I got to be ready, and which I am ready. And, you know, I feel like my audience, and especially everybody back home and everybody watching on Showtime, they're going to get to see, you know, the real skill, not real skill of me, you know. And I go in there with a game plan. Me and my coach, Danny Zamora, we have a game plan. We go in there and execute it. You know, that's what I expect to do. And, you know, hopefully I know this fight will show a lot of skill from me, and you know, I can develop more fans.
ShoBox has a long-standing tradition. Over 200-something episodes. I think over 50 world champions have come out of ShoBox. What does it mean to you to be part now of that tradition, and do you feel that there's any pressure or expectation that comes with it?
Well, I feel like there's always an expectation, especially coming from a prospect. You know, people see me coming as a prospect. They expect, you know, good things from me, and you know. But to me, there's no pressure. I go in there and fight my game plan, do what I'm capable of doing, and you know, to me, the fight's won before I step in the ring. You know, I'm winning the fight right now. You know, in my training camp, and you know, that's how I see it, and you know, that's how it's going to go down. September 20th, that's just like the reward day to me. And so I'm get to be rewarded for all of the pain I go through during training camp.
Something I was wondering, because you mentioned we interviewed you for the first time about a year ago. actually on this
Yeah.
show. So you've been on
A
here.
lot
This is
has
your third
changed.
appearance. Thank you very much. Yeah,
Yeah, I appreciate you.
And that's my feeling too. A lot has changed, right?
Yeah.
And you actually mentioned when you were on the show with your partner in crime, Ruben. You guys said there's levels to this.
Yeah.
That's what you said. And obviously, that's something where you both are taking steps and moving up in levels. That's part of sort of this transition to ShoBox. ShoBox sort of prides themselves on making difficult matchups for young guys. So their mission statement is kind of weed out what they would call pretenders. They've heard them say that in articles and things like that, right? So that's a step up in the level of competition, a step up in visibility on the national level and things like that. What new challenges do you expect to face? How are you preparing for them mentally and physically differently than maybe you would have when we first met like a year ago?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I give all credit to my promoters, Thompson and Banner, for how they've moved me. You know, they don't give me they give me good fights, tough fights, and you know, I'm learning. I get experience with these fights, and you know, I've made the commitment to stay over here in Santa Fe Springs, California, to keep my training camp over here and stay busy, stay in the ring. I've been here since December, really, and so. And I feel like that shows in all of the sparring, my training, and it shows the experience. And during my fights, as this will be my first 10-round fight, and you know, so it's just gonna keep getting better. The level of competition is always getting better. I have step ups, and you know, I have to prove my grit in there, and you know, so I plan to do that.
So with most fighters that start up, you know, in the professional levels, the first 12 to 14 fights are, I wouldn't say, you know, handed to you, but basically they're fights that you're meant to win, right? With you learning from those fights, right? They're not putting you in there to lose. They're putting you in there to build you up, but they also want you to learn at the same time. Now that you've come to the point where you're actually in a real tough fight against a real competitor that's on the same level as you, or maybe not, but you know, they're on paper he's on the same level as you. Is the training that in your camp, is it any different going into these types of fights than if you're going into a fight against maybe a little lesser competition?
No. Every training camp for me, ever since I've turned pro, you know, of course the game plan of the fight changes, you know, with different opponents, of course, but everything in sparring is still, I'm learning everything during my sparring. And, you know, I have top-of-the-line sparring, especially over here in Southern California. I've sparred with world champions, and, you know, and I feel like that's where you learn the most, is being in the ring with guys with real experience. And so whenever come fight night, of course, it's always different on fight night. And but there's nothing that I haven't seen, you know, once I get in the ring, you know, with the bright lights and everything. So I get in there, you know, I'm comfortable. It doesn't matter what kind of style or the guy brings, because I've seen it before, and so I'm preparing myself for everything that Thomas Montiz can bring, and you know, I'll be ready.
So fighting at home, okay, your first fight back in Texas, your first fight back in Midland, in front of your parents, your schoolmates, teachers, grandparents that have never been able to travel to see you fight, right?
Yeah.
And now you're taking on, like I said, on paper, the toughest competition you fought to date. Is there any extra pressure for you going into that fight, knowing not just that you're fighting a tougher level of competition, but fighting at home in front of your friends and family?
Yeah, no, I get that question a lot, but to me, no, it doesn't matter where the fight would be. It could be, you know, overseas, you know, or Mexico, anywhere. Once I step in the ring for that fight, it's just me and my opponent. It doesn't matter who's outside. It doesn't matter where the ring is gonna be at. And so that's how I see it. And I'm very happy that, you know, all of my family gets to be there. But I'm not thinking about that. You know, when I do my walkthrough to the ring, you know, I'm focused. You know, it doesn't matter where it's gonna be. And you know, so I'm ready to put on a show, just like any other fight. That's how I'm preparing for it. And you know, it's going to be a good night.
So Jesse Padilla on the chat said, what about your opponent? What can you tell us about your opponent? How much are you familiar with his activities, his background in the sport of boxing? And have you gotten to a point where you're focused already on strategy, or does that come later in camp?
Well, we know who my opponent is, and we've seen some tape on him. And, you know, he's a great fighter, you know. He's had good opposition also, just like how I have, and that's what I think. You know, the boxing world's about. You know, especially two good fighters going against to see who the best man is, and that's how you develop a world champion. You know, you have to pass these tests to be a world champion, and so, you know, this is my test that I gotta go through.
So, you mentioned that you watch some tape of him.
Yeah.
Do you spend a lot of time watching tape on your opponents, or is that something that your coach, Danny Zamora, and other people do to sort of formalize a game plan around how we're going to handle this individual or this task this time around?
Yeah, I mean, during camp, of course, we always have a game plan, but on fight night, you know, you have to be able to adjust. That's the biggest thing. And so we go in there prepared. We have our game plan, but we know things change, you know, once you get in that ring. And that's why me sparring, of course, I have styles that I spar that are like my opponent, but, you know, nobody's going to fight like him except him, you know. So we just got to be ready to adjust, be ready for whatever, and, you know, I'm ready for that.
And for people that haven't seen the flyer, he's going to be fighting a kid out of Cleveland, Ohio named Thomas Matisse, who is, I believe, 14-1 in one draw. His last 4 fights have been really tough. I know 4 fights ago he went up against a kid from another Thompson fighter, Zora. And he fought he won a decision, but it was a very, very controversial decision that he won. They ran it back. They did a rematch in Temecula where he got a draw on that fight. But he's a tough fighter. He's a come forward fighter, and he kind of fits into the style of fighting that you have. You're a boxer puncher, so with him coming forward, I just think it's going to be a good test.
It's gonna be an interesting fight, a good fight for a boxing fan to see, and, you know, I can't wait. I can't wait to put on a show, and that's what boxing's about. You know, to evenly matched guys, you know, putting that all on the line. And, you know, we're both putting it on the line, you know, win this fight, you know, you get ranked, you know, you can get ready for, it's the next step to a world title.
As you mentioned, you've been training out here, and you have been for some time. At some point in time, I imagine you'll take training camp back to Midland, Texas in preparation for the fight, or at least within a few days of.
Oh, yeah.
What are your plans? Are you going to be, like, staying at home? Are you still staying at the hotel? Do you know how you're going to visit Midland as you're preparing for the fight?
No, everything's going to be just how it was before. You know, it's not going to change just because it's in Midland. To me, you know, I'm going to Midland on a business trip, you know.
Exactly.
Just like how my fights on the East Coast have been. I fought in New York and I believe Washington, and, you know, just like we travel anywhere else, you know, it's the same thing. I'm going here with one goal, one focus, business trip, and I'm going to take care of business and worry about all of the extra stuff after I get the victory.
Anthony Garcia, shout out to Anthony for jumping on the chat. He said, my son said, Matisse better watch out for Michael's deadly body shots. What do you think, man? You got those deadly body shots ready?
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Shout out to Anthony. Thanks for jumping on it.
Yeah.
Shout out to my boy Anthony, Iconic Apparel. One of my great sponsors has been with me from the start.
Wearing it today. I'm repping it today.
Got it on right now. That's nice.
You know, the good thing about Thompson, man, and seeing you move up in the ranks, and then seeing you going to Showtime and headlining the Showtime card, is they're familiar with this. You're not the first Thompson fighter to do this, and I'm sure you're not going to be the last. You know, I remember Danny Roman stepping up and going to a card in Atlantic City. It was a Showtime card where he fought Adam Lopez.
I remember that fight.
And he beat Adam Lopez, and 2 fights later, he was fighting for a world title.
Yep.
You know, and I'm not saying you're going to get there that fast, but Thompson has the experience of bringing up their fighters and bringing them to a level that they need to be before they enter a championship fight. And the reason I'm saying this is because last night I was there at the Banc of California Arena, and they had the inaugural card there. Top Rank had their inaugural card there. And in the main event, they had the world champion, Navarrete, going up against this kid out of Phoenix named Panchito de Vaca.
Yes.
And looking back at Panchito and his record, yes, he was an undefeated fighter, but he was a club fighter. And most of his fights were fought in Phoenix at the Celebrity Theater for an Iron Boy card. And it just doesn't seem like he ever had that competition where he was tested You know, he developed a record that was undefeated, and then he was thrown in there with the world champion, and you can tell that last night from the fight that he just wasn't ready for that level of competition. You know, and that's where I give the props to Thompson Boxing and to Artie from Banner,
Yes.
and to Alex Campanovo, the matchmaker from Thompson, where they move you guys along.
Mm-hmm.
They allow you guys to learn in the process, but then they put you up at a level of competition that's either at your level or maybe a little bit above your level to test you to see if you're going to rise or if you're going to, if you're going to sink or you're going to rise to the top. And that's the type of fights that young fighters need. These are the types of steps that young fighters need to do. They need to take these types of steps to use as a measuring stick to understand what type of level they're at, because like you guys said, there's levels to this.
Yeah.
You just can't jump in the ring with a world champion.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to get there. You've got to take those steps to get there and continue to improve and learn from your mistakes to get there. And, you know, last night I just believe that Top Rank, they made a mistake by throwing that kid in there, you know. And
that's why, you know, once I got the call about my opponent for the fight, you know, I said, you know, let's take it. I'm not with the not really for, you know, patting the records all the way up, you know, to what's the point of being, you know, 30-0, you know, you haven't fought nobody. And so, like, that's what this sport's about, you know, learning from experience. And, you know, so we train hard in training camp, and you're just ready for whatever. Stay ready. You know, and going back to that where you said, you know, padding your record, it goes back to something that Sean had posted last night on his Facebook talking about what sayings, you know, are overused in boxing. And I think one of them is the term exposed.
Exposed, yeah.
Exposed. But
exposed.
It happens a lot where these fighters, like you said,
in there with the lion,
they pad up the records, you know, they become undefeated fighters, and I'm knocking everybody out and I'm undefeated, I'm here, I'm there, but they've never been tested. And then when it comes time to a world title type of fight, they become exposed.
Yeah. I was just feeling last night, I don't know if it was bitter or what, but I was like, man, there's just certain phrases,
certain cliches
that they use. They're cliches, absolute cliches in boxing that I truly would not mind if we retired in the sport of boxing. So like one of those is, and this is, I'm talking specifically about commentary mostly, but the term punches and bunches, I feel like it's wore out its welcome. You know what I mean? Like we get it. There's lots of punches being thrown, punches and bunches. I feel there's got to be a better way to describe that. I may be the only one. Everybody else is probably on it. You guys let me know on the chat. What was the other one I said was referring to body shots as either putting money in the bank or paying dividends in later rounds. Okay? We don't have to equate body shots to money. It's okay. We understand.
Right, exactly.
It pays off. Let's just come up with some new ways to do it. I think we could do it. The boxing community can come up with new ways to do this stuff. I feel like there's like a list of fallbacks where if you don't know what to say, you can just say one of these 4 things.
Make it sound good.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're not sure what to say. Someone lands a body shot, so you go, you know, those body shots will pay dividends. And all right, cool it, guys. It's cool. Stop it. Stop it. Let's do something else.
Exactly, man.
People took that all kinds of different directions. People started talking about corner instructions and post-fight interviews and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm the one that said the post-fight interview.
Post-fight interview, yeah.
I'd like to thank Al Heyman and God, but Al Heyman first, then God.
Al Heyman first?
Right.
I'd like to thank God and Al Heyman.
No, it's usually the other way around with these fighters.
I'd like to thank Al Heyman and God.
Yeah. Or maybe he's the same person to them. I don't know.
Man, you're touching on some sensitive topics here, bro.
It's all right, though, man. I mean, am I lying?
No, it comes out a lot. Although, for some reason, it doesn't quite make me cringe to the extent of punches and bunches. These guys are throwing punches and bunches. You know what? Do you remember like the old? You guys ever play the old video games like the Fight Nights and all that stuff?
They got all of their slogans.
You remember how the commentators, they can only say like 5 different things, and like one of them is punches and bunches. Like
what did you used to play?
Fight Night.
Fight Night. Which one?
Round 2, I think it was. Fight Night Round 2.
Fight Night 2004 was my favorite game. With Tigger. Tigger was the announcer.
Mine was Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
I was gonna say, yeah, you look like it. You look like you're, Tecmo Bowl kind of guy.
Yeah, old school, man. Blowing the cartridge.
Stax was on the Atari.
Atari. Oh man.
Yeah, Frogger and Pac-Man.
So how was that? You mentioned you were at the Banc of California Stadium. It was the inaugural boxing event. A lot of articles and things like that coming out of the event. What did you think of the venue?
You know, it's an absolutely beautiful venue. It's a big venue, but all the seats in there are pretty good. For the inaugural event, I kind of wish they would have had a bigger card, especially for LA.
Was that the first top rank card?
The first card ever.
There.
First
Yeah.
boxing
Card there, yeah.
Yeah. You know, I think they could have saved it for maybe somebody like Oscar Valdez with a good undercard. But they felt out the waters, and I think we'll see more fights there. You know, it's in that area of downtown Los Angeles, there's a big Hispanic presence there. You know, a lot of Mexicans live around there, a lot of Latinos live around there, and as you know, we're huge boxing fans. I mean, that's just the truth. You know, I mean, especially here in Southern California, the majority of boxing fans are Hispanic. You know, when you take a look at the total numbers, I'm not saying that whites aren't and blacks aren't. I'm just saying if you take a look at the numbers, the majority of the boxing fans out here are Hispanic. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why that soccer team does so good, that LAFC, is because you have that area of Los Angeles that's just inundated with Hispanics, and they don't have to travel all the way to the StubHub Center to watch the Galaxy play anymore. So they're filling up that stadium. It's a new team. It's a soccer team, which, of course, Mexicans like soccer. Yeah. You know, so to bring boxing into that community, if they were to have a big fight there, I think they could sell that place out. They could put 13,000, 14,000 people in that arena easy, if not more, you know. But it's a great arena. It's outdoor. It has the awnings, the overhang. Yeah. So you do get shade about 4:15, 4:30, depending on the time of year. You know, so you start getting the shade. And it was a little warm when we got there. We got there about 3 o'clock. It was a little warm. But it was a small crowd, but it was loud. And they were into the fight the whole time. They had the soccer chants going and everything else. So it was a good crowd, loud crowd.
But it's not like that Texas heat, though. Be outside.
Are you guys fighting outside?
No, sir.
Oh.
Luckily, a good thing we're inside. We're inside.
Are you familiar with the venue?
Oh, yeah.
You've been there before?
I've been to quinceañeras there when I was a kid.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you know the ballroom and everything like that.
Yeah. Saints Row. You know, Saints Row says Michael's still going to be undefeated after the fight. Team Dutchover.
Hashtag
What's
Team
up,
Dutchover. Hashtag
yes,
Midland,
sir.
Texas.
Appreciate that, man.
West Texas Warrior. Man.
It's going down.
Mikey. Somebody says Mikey. Adam Dutchover.
Oh, that's my brother.
That's your brother?
Yeah, that's my bro.
Is he the one that came with you last time?
Yeah, that's Loke Dog. I call him Loke Dog.
What's up, Loke Dog? Loke Dog in the house. What up?
It's crazy Loke. It's crazy Loke.
Oh man,
you don't know about this.
Oh man, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Say Revenge of the Nerds, homie.
That's harsh, bro.
But yeah, man. Everybody back home is going wild right now. You know, and I'm just excited. You know, happy to. And then it's like Midland is known for Friday Night Lights. I feel like bringing that back. Bringing a big sports thing back to Midland, and it's good for the city. And right now, in my graduating class, also one of my friends was Bryce Hopwood. He's doing very good right now in track, and he just signed with Adidas, the track team, and so for Midland is getting exposure right now. So I feel like
besides football,
and I feel like it's good for just all of the kids in the community, especially there in West Texas, to know you can do it. Dream big. Train hard, work hard, and you can get places.
Yeah, because you got Showtime coming in there, man. Yeah. First time Showtime's ever put on a bout in Midland, Texas, right?
Yep. Yes, sir.
And I told them they're gonna have to sell out because half the people there probably don't have Showtime to watch, so they're gonna have to go to the fights anyways. You know
the fight,
right?
Yeah.
So speaking of track, you ran track in high school, right?
Yeah.
So track what was this? I saw there was some exchange between you and Beto Duran around a marathon or running or something like that on Instagram.
Beto don't want no smoke there.
Is he calling you out?
Nah, yeah. We're supposed to run a marathon in October, the Long Beach Marathon. So I plan on running that.
Every time you're on, somebody's challenging you. I remember last time Josecito Lopez said he had a better time than you.
Yeah, he had a better time than me in cross country.
You don't remember that?
And so I got competition in running.
Last time Josecito was calling one of Michael's fights at the DoubleTree, and they mentioned that he ran track in high school, and Josecito mentioned how much of a better track runner he was.
No, see when when you're there supporting
seconds.
Michael live, you don't hear the commentary.
Yeah.
So
Good point.
yeah,
Good point. So you and Beto going to run the marathon in October?
Yes, that's the plan. So
Have you done a marathon? I know you're a track runner, so I assume that you
I honestly I haven't.
Oh, really?
I've done a half marathon, but that's one of the things I want to do on my bucket list. Is run a marathon, and I know I could do it.
How much do you run? How much road work do you do as part of your training?
From 6 to 8 miles.
A day?
a
Or?
day.
It varies. Like I'll do 2 long runs during the day and then let my legs rest. I'll do like a light elliptical or still do cardio bike or something. But usually 6 to 8 miles.
What are you running your mile in about 7 minutes?
My mile times right now is about like 7:30.
7:30.
miles.
Yeah. So if you run a half an hour, that's maybe 3 miles. So if you do 2, if you're running an hour a day, getting to 6 miles. And so
Yeah,
it's not
You're like
too
a
bad.
math genius, bro.
No, it's because I'm running. I'm running like 2 miles a day, and it's only taking me like 45 minutes. You know, but I mean,
He was able to do that multiplication and division and all that stuff.
nah.
No, yeah, I love running though. My father was a marathon runner.
Yeah.
And so like running's in my blood, and I just love running. And
And
running the marathons on my bucket list, I haven't done yet, and I'll get the opportunity to smoke Beto in October.
And shout out to Jerry, man, to your dad, Jerry. What's
Oh,
going
yeah.
on? If you're listening in, Jerry, what's going on out there in Texas, man? Hope you're doing good. You and the family, you and Angel are doing good. Happy belated birthday, Angel.
Texas heat, that's what's going on over there.
Texas heat, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I visited San Antonio for the 4th of July, visited my family, and my brother Junior lives in San Antonio. Man, the humidity is crazy over there. You walk outside, you're just sweating like crazy. It's like
Good
a
for
sauna.
training,
Yeah,
you
I know. I sweated a lot when I was over there.
Yeah.
I didn't have to worry about gaining weight.
No, exactly, man. I mean, but geez.
Speaking of training, another thing I saw recently on Instagram, of course, you train at Titan Edge Athletics
Yes.
for strength and conditioning with Coach Jerry Arias, so
Yeah.
shout out to Jerry. But I saw you doing some hand-eye coordination, kind of
Mhm.
reaction timing type exercises, something that's sort of a la Lomachenko, like you would see, people sort of reaching for the lights and doing stuff like that. How long have you been doing that, and do you find that it's actually building hand speed or coordination, or can you describe sort of the nature of the exercise?
Oh, I feel like it does. Hand-eye coordination. That's a big thing in boxing, and we got a lot of tricks in our bag. We can't give out all the secrets that we're doing in training.
True.
But yeah, we've been doing a lot of lights and stuff and reaction times, and that I can tell the difference since I started doing that. Just in sparring and everything, and we got we train hard, but we train smart too.
Did you just come from training right now?
No, today's my rest day.
Oh, see, you told me you were going to train this
Yeah,
morning.
I'm
You told me you were going to go to church
I'm
and
gonna
train.
go shoot some basketball, shoot some hoops. I just like to stay active on Sundays.
Yeah, no, because I called him up yesterday. I'm like, 3 o'clock. He's like,
Yeah.
why? I'm like, Michael has to go to church, then he has to train.
Yeah.
So, and then you call and text me this morning.
I
so.
just woke up from my nap, or I go to church early. Go
Yeah.
to church to run some errands, and then so when I get back, I go shoot
That's
some
right.
hoops.
All glory to God. AG2G.
AG2G.
That's right.
Real quick, let me give a shout out to Alfonso Gomez. Make sure to follow him, El Gomez Boxing. He jumped on the chat. What's up, Alfonso? Thanks for your love on the new set. You inspired this, man. Remember, he came on. He was giving me a hard time about the set.
Was
Remember?
he?
Yeah, he was giving me a hard time about the set, and he was like, "Hey, you need places to put sponsorship. You need the screen.
Sponsors
So
are
here it
coming.
is.
El
This is what's up.
Gomez. Sponsors are coming.
This is
El
what I do.
Gomez.
This is what I do with
You can have
feedback.
big old banners over here set up.
I take
Every time I come back here, it's different. It's improving.
It's totally different, right?
I don't know how you can just keep improving. I've been here 3 times, and every single time something's different.
Something's gotten better.
Yeah, I know. So
We're going to have to put a Mitsubishi, a Midland Mitsubishi sign.
Oh yeah,
shout out to
Midland
Midland
Mitsubishi.
Mitsubishi.
Yeah, if you
All
guys
of my
want to,
sponsors.
if you guys want to sponsor us, Midland Mitsubishi, we will give you a shout out like every show, and we'll put a sticker right in the front of our booth, and we'll give you guys a shout out, and we can discuss details later.
Shout out to my boy Ernie, Everlast Boxing, always taking care of me. Verde Wheels is a new sponsor we're teaming up with now, and Midland Mitsubishi's. So back home in Midland, it's awesome to have a sponsor from Midland, and it's great. I'm super blessed, and with the support system from family, friends, fans, everything.
And your tickets are selling fast, man.
Yeah, I've actually heard that it's halfway sold out now.
So if you're in the Texas area and you guys plan on going to that Showtime show September 20th, you better get your tickets now because they haven't even been on sale 2 days.
Yeah.
They went on sale Friday at noon and half the venue's already sold out. So get your tickets if you want to support.
That's my advice too. If you want to
support
see me
Mike
fight live.
Dutchover, you want to see him fight live because this is the first time and it's probably going to be the last time for a while that he fights in Texas.
Yeah.
Because he's only moving on to bigger and better things. I mean, his last 2 fights have been Showtime cards. You know, you were the co-main event, right?
Yep.
With Ruben Villa.
My boy Villa.
Yeah, and now he's going to be the co-main event for you.
They're switching.
So you guys are kind of just switching it up a little bit, man. So
keep it cool.
yeah, exactly. Influence, man.
Yeah.
Who did you look up to, man, growing up as as far as boxing-wise goes?
Boxing-wise, growing up, my favorite fighter was Miguel Cotto. And so that's what kind of got me into, watching. I used to watch his first fight. I believe I watched it whenever he fought Zab Judah. Was that and like when I really knew boxing, I was like, and I just seen the warrior mentality and everything. And I remember when I was a kid too, and I saw the Margarito fight. That just broke my heart, man. I was with my mom. I was like, wow, I didn't think he could lose because that was the guy that I looked up to, And
Yeah.
so you just learn, but he was a warrior, always a warrior in the ring, and but yeah, that was like one of my favorite fighters to watch was Miguel Cotto.
You know what's funny is like I have the fighters who influence me a lot are not sort of, I think, typical people. It's like people like Juan Manuel Marquez, Miguel Cotto, things like that.
Yeah.
I'm always surprised at how much backlash people give for Miguel Cotto and how good he actually was. Like I always hear people say like, oh, he never won any of his big fights.
That's
he never
me.
did all this. Like, come on, man.
No, you know what?
He's a
Miguel Cotto was a warrior. Miguel
he was
Cotto,
awesome.
he never ducked anybody. He fought, but he
And
fought all the names.
That's what I like, is people that don't duck anybody and accept all challenges. You fight with heart. And that's what he did.
But what big names did he beat?
I mean,
And
dude,
that's my argument. Yes, he's a Hall of Famer. Yes, he didn't duck anybody. He fought tough fights.
Yeah.
But really, what big names did Miguel Cotto beat?
well, I mean, what do you consider big name? Because like he beat a lot
Mosley.
of people. Yeah, like he beat
Mosley
a lot
was
of people.
probably
Like
the biggest one.
who's not a big he
Did
didn't
he beat Floyd?
No.
Did he beat Oscar?
You have to beat Floyd now to be a good boxer. Like
No,
if you don't beat
nobody
Floyd,
beat Floyd.
I
right?
don't think anybody beat Floyd.
Yeah, I know. If you don't beat Manny Pacquiao and Floyd, apparently you suck, and you
No,
you don't deserve our admiration.
No, I
You don't
didn't.
deserve our
I didn't
admiration.
say that, man. I didn't say that.
Come
I'm just
on,
saying.
huh?
You see.
Floyd.
He's
Did
about
he
to-
beat
he's
Floyd?
going on box rec, huh?
Yeah. That's, you already knew.
I was gonna ask
I
you.
know stacks.
That's what I'm gonna ask Michael at the end of his career. Did you beat Floyd though? No. I'm sorry. Then I can't respect
You're
you.
not good.
Yeah. No respect for you.
So he lost to Saddam Ali. He lost to Canelo.
Dude,
Yeah.
He lost to Trout. He lost to Mayweather.
he had
lost
a
he lost to
bicep
Pacquiao.
rolled up in his arm when he lost to Saddam Ali.
He lost to Margarito.
They described it as he beat Margarito as soon as there was no controversy.
Oh, you know what big name he beat? Alfonso Gomez. Your buddy.
First of all,
There you go.
listen to Alfonso. When Alfonso was here, he gave it up to Miguel.
No, he
Cotto.
did. He did. He said that Miguel was the
He-
hardest puncher that ever hit him was Miguel Cotto.
I remember watching
Except
that
for in
fight
sparring.
also.
Yeah, except in
Except
sparring.
Margarito. Oh man. But no, I feel like a lot. There's Miguel Cotto for some reason has an unusual amount of haters, and Juan Manuel Marquez.
Yeah, Marquez does.
Marquez is another guy who I have a tremendous amount of respect for.
Marquez
I loved watching
great.
Marquez, and a lot of people hate on his accomplishments.
It's funny. They either love Marquez or they hate him.
Yeah.
They do. There's
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 no
like
in the
no
middle,
in
huh?
between with
Yeah.
Marquez. It's like in Nevada. It's funny because when he walked into that meet and greet, everybody flocked to him. Like every single person in that meet and greet flocked to Marquez. Everybody else was like empty. Bernard was empty. Hasim Rockman was empty. Vinny Paz. If you wanted to get autographs, that was the time because everybody was in line waiting for Marquez when Marquez walked in. I mean, it was amazing to watch that man walk in and just see the crowds just flock to Juan Manuel Marquez.
You know what I love? There's just a great balance of like skill, entertainment value. Meaning you don't watch. I can't think of a Miguel Cotto fight I watched and thought, man, this is boring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
That's
never
true.
watched the Juan Manuel Marquez fight and went, this is boring.
Yeah.
I would rather be watching somebody else fight. And I think even people who are considered all-time greats have that experience. A lot of people probably have watched one or two Floyd Mayweather fights and said, you know what, You know, in the second half of the fight, maybe they're falling out of it a little bit. They're not as engaged as they were in the first half of the fight.
And I'm glad you brought up Cotto's name, and I'm going to tell you why. Because this is like completely off the subject, but Miguel Cotto's name has to be brought up in this. So, in the last few months, Andy Reese has caught a lot of heat on social media about not being Mexican.
Yeah.
Right? That he's American, he's not Mexican, he's not the first Mexican heavyweight, world champion because he was born in the States.
Yeah.
So, how for all you Cotto fans, does that not make him Puerto Rican since he was born in Providence, Rhode Island? Because nobody ever has made that argument. Nobody has ever made that argument that Cotto was an American and he wasn't Puerto Rican because he was born in Providence, Rhode Island. So for all you people out there giving Andy Reese shit for not being Mexican because he was born in the United States, then you better have that same type of...
That was never brought up in Cotto's career.
It wasn't. You should have that same type of thing towards that hatred towards Cotto and everybody else because of their ethnicity. So, it's just something I got tired of. I've been seeing it too much.
You got Stacks upset up here. He's cussing and stuff like that.
No, I'm not cussing, man. I'm not cussing. I'm just saying I didn't cuss.
The live studio audience says that you did.
Well, fuck. Maybe I did. Shit.
Oh, man. No, but you know what? Wasn't he like an Olympic alternate for Mexico?
Who?
Andy Ruiz.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Like he was literally like an alternate for their Mexican Olympic team. So I think if that doesn't qualify you, then what do you think of all this Saudi Arabia stuff? You want to? You guys gonna go? You gonna go for Supreme and
Cynthia's gonna have to wear a turban on her head?
Whoa!
Whoa! No, I'm being serious. No, because they can't go around with their heads uncovered, right? They won't even let women. No. I'm not
touching this conversation.
So in Saudi Arabia, women they're not allowed to walk into arenas. They can't even go to sporting events. Women can't walk around with their heads uncovered. So
there's definitely some truth to that because I do know that because Eddie Hearn had said, hey, there are other big industries that have had sporting events here, namely like the WWE and Formula One and things like that. But if I read an article, and I don't know that this is accurate, but the article that I read said that the WWE actually had to not allow divas to compete. What the WWE refers to as divas, which is the women wrestling division, were not allowed to compete when they performed in Saudi Arabia. So I don't know that means that you couldn't buy tickets to the event, but at a minimum, it did mean that there was some obviously discrepancy. Yeah, there. So that's a real concern. I agree, it's a real concern.
Yeah, it's a real concern. There was an article I posted. It's like, is all money good money? Because him taking all this extra money to have the fight in Saudi Arabia, when there's so much politics going on that not even boxing politics, just real life world politics. That I don't know. It kind of just, I wouldn't say it gives boxing a black eye, but I think there could be other places to have that fight.
I mean, there definitely are other places.
I mean, you can have it in Vegas. You could have it. You could have it in England. You could have it in Mexico City.
That's what I was wondering. Why in Saudi Arabia? It's like
it's money, man. Money talks, bullshit walks.
Yeah. So presumably it was something like a location bonus of in excess of $40 million in order to have it in Saudi Arabia.
Dang.
Jerry, your dad is on the stream. What up, Jerry?
Jerry is not your dad.
Oh, no, that's a different Jerry. That's a Jerry Arias. No, Jerry is his dad, man. I know, say Jerry's not his dad. That's a different Jerry.
The Jerry who just jumped on the chat is definitely not
What's up, Coach? That's Coach.
Yeah, you call him Jerry. We call him Coach around here.
Yeah, don't call him Daddy, man.
Shout out to Jerry Arias.
Titan Edge Athletics. Something right now.
Hey, it's this hemp water that we have here.
Brought to you by Combat Sports Collective, logo of champions. Follow Combat Sports Collective on Instagram.
Bang bang.
I'm trying to get this.
Like how I got that in there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get the label off like Sean, because we ain't trying to promote nothing without getting paid right now.
You know what? Combat Sports Collective, I didn't take their label off because they're like an official. I had to take the Arrowhead label off though. Arrowhead didn't give me any money for this.
And Combat ain't giving me no money for this.
They gave you that water though.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. I bought this one. I bought this bottle.
It's probably from the sink with some weeds in it. Some seaweed.
Seems like Stacks on another level.
Don't hate on me. I know, man. He's going off now. I'm gonna have to cut your mic in a minute.
I guess so, man.
What's up, Pat? That's my boy Pat Bonilla Reyes from back home in Midland.
Shout out to Pat. So you're not going to Saudi Arabia then to check out the fight. That's what I'm understanding.
Nah, man.
It's in December, right? December.
Can you
December
imagine?
7th,
Can you imagine Stacks
outside? They said
on a camel trying to get to the joint, bro?
I'll cover it up.
Could he say more things that like?
I'm just saying, like instead of an Uber, me trying to catch a camel trying to get there.
He's doubling down on it too.
They got Uber on camel.
I officially don't condone any of this.
Sticker.
Now if I go, I'm gonna end up like that dude, that guy, that news guy, man, from Turkey.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna close the topic of competing in Saudi Arabia for boxing.
Yeah,
events
please
going
do,
forward.
man.
My goodness. Oh man, have
Hey.
you been watching though? Anthony Joshua has been doing a series of interviews about the fight and competing against Andy Ruiz. I'm interested to get your guys' take on this. So one of the things that he's kind of doubling down on now is that he referred to the punch, the left hook that in the third round caused him to sort of go
lucky
to.
punch.
He referred to it, yes, as a lucky punch.
That's what Joshua said?
Yes, he referred to it as a lucky punch that was sent from the gods. Whereas,
Wow.
and
Wow.
that is the quote. I'm pretty close. I don't have
Yeah.
it in front of me, but I'm pretty close.
Dude,
What's that? Oh, from
the Aztec god, Cynthia said.
From the
a lucky
Snicker
punch.
gods.
The Snickers. Look,
Let's
man.
see how many people we can offend
He
in one
blew his-
episode.
Dude blew his
Let's-
load, man. He put Andy Reese on his ass, and then even the commentators, watch him finish, watch him
Yeah,
finish.
I
And
remember
he
seeing
swung for the fences and hit him, and Andy took that shot and says, Caile puto. Boom. And down he went. That wasn't a lucky punch. That's just,
Nah.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happened if you watch the replay in slow motion.
yeah, exactly. I'm sure he said it just like that, too. No,
Oh my goodness! But here's the thing: I kind of take issue with this because nobody is trying to get knocked out. So let's be perfectly clear. If you're, and I hear people say this about Juan Manuel Marquez and Manny Pacquiao. This comes up a lot. People say that was an accident. That was a lucky punch. Like, if that is an accident, then all knockouts are accidents. Meaning, and if it's an accident, it's not Juan Manuel Marquez's accident. That's Manny Pacquiao's accident, right? Like, he made a mistake. That's how you get knocked out. You make a mistake, right? They're either all an accident or none of them are.
No.
They're all lucky punches or none of them are. The truth
none of
is,
them are, man.
the man was throwing a left hook at Anthony Joshua. He threw two in a row. Both of them connected. The first one to the chin, the second one to the top of the head, and they did what they were supposed to do. So, like, what portion of it is
accident.
are you referring to as lucky or an accident?
You've had
which
one
part
of the
it was
most
lucky?
Michael has had one of the most devastating knockouts in boxing history, man. Seriously.
That
It
was
That was my
accident.
knockout of the year.
It just doesn't, because of your name and not being up, on that level yet.
Absolute stunning
It
knockout.
it doesn't go out there, the masses. It doesn't go viral to the masses like some of these other knockouts. Would you describe your punch as a lucky punch?
That wasn't an accident.
Right? It's not an
I
accident.
set it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how knockouts are formed. The guys setting them up, thinking two steps ahead of your opponent.
And that's the same thing with Reese. He probably seen something. He said, okay, he throws a left, he throws a right, he throws a 1-2-1, and I can come over the top and come over his right. It's a strategic plan. He's just not going in there throwing wild-ass punches, or maybe he is and catches them. But either way, there was something he seen that told him he could connect with that punch to Joshua's head.
Like, even if it is a moment of desperation for Ruiz because he's just been floored and obviously is not entirely himself in that moment. And if you actually watch back the fight, what's happening is he's fighting him off, right? Like, he's essentially trying to do enough damage to discourage him from continuing to apply pressure because he's just been floored. In that exchange, he lands two punches. They are the same punch. He lands a left hook, and then he ducks under and rolls and lands another left hook. So even if he was throwing wildly, those two were intentional. He landed one, same punch a second time, got him again, right? So it's
Exactly,
kind of
man.
like I don't know how you can refer to it
I
as
think
lucky.
another reason why you shouldn't call it an accident, because I guarantee you that same punch, that same slip and counter punch was thrown over 1,000 times in training camp.
Absolutely.
There you
know
go.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's not an accident.
Yeah, I completely
Exactly.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you what's going to be an accident is if Joshua
dropping knowledge. I'm dropping knowledge.
if Joshua gets back into this fight and he's not
Yeah.
mentally prepared.
Yeah.
And you know what? Who's to say? Okay, we go outside, we go to the back. Me and you get into an argument right now. We go to the back and you kick my ass, right?
Yeah.
You knock me out. I don't care how much training I have. If I'm fighting you 3 or 4 months later, I'm gonna remember you knocking my ass out in this parking lot, and you're probably gonna do it again.
It's gonna be in the back of your head,
and it's probably gonna do it again. And I'm not gonna say, you know, all glory to God, gave him a lucky punch, and now he knocked me out. No, it was his skill. And I'm not saying I'm Anthony Joshua, but I'm just saying once a person gets knocked out or you get beat up and you got to see that same person again,
you have to recover mentally.
You got to recover mentally, man.
I mean,
if you're not there fully mentally. It's
here's the other thing in the interview. It's a really revealing interview. I recommend that everybody watch it. It's like a 20-minute interview that he's done, and he actually sits there and watches the fight and sort of talks through each of the moments as he's experiencing them. But one of the things he says, and I've heard him say repeatedly in the last week, is that if Andy Ruiz had been in his position, he would not have been able to continue. And what he means by that is, hey, Andy Ruiz had me hurt and down in the 3rd round, and I lasted until the 7th, right? If I had Andy Ruiz in that same position, he wouldn't last another 4 rounds.
He had Andy Ruiz in that position.
I don't even understand that because he had him knocked out. He had him completely down. He gave him a straight 2-piece that put him completely on the floor.
Like and a biscuit.
And a biscuit to go with it. I don't even know what that means, but I'll agree. But the truth is, and the fries. Yeah, he gave him the whole combo.
Yeah.
I mean, Andy
supersize it if you want, whatever that means.
Andy was out on his feet. And
that was the first time Andy has ever been knocked down.
Took a devastating right hand from him and stayed on his feet. So he had Andy where he needed to be. Yep. Jesus, man.
Oh, my God. You know, I just flashed back to one of the reasons that this show even started was because I watched Stephen A. Smith and Teddy Atlas arguing about Floyd Mayweather.
Two guys can go at it.
They were arguing, and they started talking about flipping burgers and doing all kinds of weird stuff. And I was like, man, if these guys can go on TV and talk about flipping burgers while referring to boxing, then I can do this too. And we totally just had that moment right now. We were adding 2 pieces with biscuits and supersized. Oh, my God.
Hey,
I apologize. I apologize to everybody.
Can you mail me like a Whataburger from Texas, man?
I got you, bro, and I'll come back.
When you come that good, bro.
I'll pick you up at the airport.
Good. Hey, I just want to let everyone know when
don't start bashing.
I'm not. Here we go. Bash. I'm about to beat your ass.
No. I'm not gonna start bashing. No bashing. I had Whataburger last time I was in Texas. I understand it's the thing in Texas, but Anthony here
what did you
went and posted something on Facebook saying it was better than In-N-Out Burger.
It is.
And you're outside your mind, brother.
No, man.
All the people who are watching, this is predominantly a show of people from Los Angeles, I guarantee. You guys, if you've ever had it.
What's up.
No way.
Some spicy ketchup, man.
You can't get that at In-N-Out.
No,
you can't get that at In-N-Out.
Man, I even had all the side desserts with them. I had the lemon pie, the apple pie, the cinnamon roll.
Is this a boxing show or what? This is Snacks with Stacks, fast food review.
Hey, remember, what was it? The fucker. The Ortiz fight, Virgil Ortiz. Yeah. Didn't they have like their press conference at Whataburger or something?
I know they had a picture outside with him at Whataburger.
Was it the coach? No, it was a Ramirez Hooker fight where Ramirez's managers is like,
I saw something like that.
If Ramirez loses, I'll buy all you guys dinner for Whataburger because all you guys are gonna die in 3 months from eating that shit anyways.
That's crazy.
Jerry says In-N-Out all day. Oh, man. Coach Jerry,
Thanks
come on,
for participating,
man.
Coach Jerry.
I don't even remember the last time I've had a burger.
We're very happy to have your son with us here this afternoon.
We're sitting over here talking about food. This guy's over here starving. He's got another month to go drinking water. We're over here talking about burgers.
Oh, man.
It's all good, man. Part of the process.
No, but you know what I was disappointed, man? With your guys' Texas barbecue, bro.
He's still going on it. He's still on it.
Bullshit.
We don't even need to address that, right? We can just leave that comment. We'll just put that one to bed. Okay.
Put that one to bed.
Snacks with Stacks. You guys fucking people clowning me now, man. It's all right.
Got my Texas homies clowning.
Biscuits.
We're gonna do a spin-off podcast where we evaluate.
I could talk about food all day.
Yeah.
Hey, so you're a cook, right?
Yes, I love cooking.
Yeah.
And shout out to Zoe's Meals is the chef that has helped me during my camps for my past 2 camps. Zoe's Meals, he preps all of my meals, and it's just great meals. Real food, chicken, vegetables, a whole bunch of different variety of stuff, fish, salmon. But also, I do love cooking. I've studied a lot, read a lot about nutrition, And so whenever if that's not available, I cook my own food like that.
So, big rumor that I heard, man, over the weekend.
Okay.
Second time I've heard it. You're going to hear it here first. And I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but here's the big rumor that I've heard. That PBC
Dun, dun, dun.
will be selling either by the end of this year or if not, the beginning of next year to Dana White. That Dana White is going to get into boxing, that he's going to buy PBC out, right? And that he will merge PBC in with ESPN. Therefore, you will have the PBC fighters fighting with the top-ranked fighters, and eventually, summer of next year to late fall, you will have the super fight between Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. So that's just something to look out for there, that PBC may be going over to ESPN after being bought out by Dana White. If that happens or not, I don't know, but that's the word on the streets.
Effectively what you're saying is that PBC will become the foothold for Zuffa Boxing, which is essentially an initiative that Dana White has been trying to get off the ground since maybe 2017 or thereabouts.
Exactly.
Right. Remember when they printed all the shirts? They had all the Zuffa Boxing shirts.
Zuffa Boxing, yeah.
They were trying to land Mikey Garcia, and when they couldn't do it, I think it kind of went underwater. That was like the first person who they were actively pursuing, is my recollection.
So, but imagine that, man. Imagine Top Rank and
PBC.
Zuffa, PBC or the Zuffa Boxing on one network, on the ESPN network, and then the promotional companies actually working with each other to make these fights.
That's funny. What would it be on, Fox or ESPN
No,
Plus?
it'd be on ESPN.
Yeah.
ESPN and ESPN Plus.
ESPN pay-per-view.
You know, whatever needs to happen to make that fight happen is sort of I'm for. So if it involves if it involves Al Heyman having to sell,
say do it.
If he sells to Dana White, I will make a shirt that says "Thank you, Al Heyman and God." I will. I'll wear it on here, man.
A throwback to earlier in the episode.
Yeah.
No, I think whatever the problem is everyone can agree, and that we should be getting the fights that we as boxing fans deserve, and that all the big names, we want to see them all fight each other. It's not happening. I would assert that it's not the fault of the fans.
Street, not people. Yeah.
Right. And so I think everyone can agree with that. The problem is that everyone kind of picks their favorite and blames the other side. So when you look at like social media, there's people who are going to be pro PBC and they'll say Al Heyman is great and Top Rank is, these guys are sharks, they're snakes, or Golden Boy, these guys are sharks. And then there will be your Golden Boy guys who say Golden Boy's great and these guys are sharks or snakes or whatever the case is. But the truth is, whatever the reason, business just doesn't get done in the way that's beneficial for us as boxing fans. And obviously, we want for it to benefit the fighters as well. But I think that's kind of where it stops. Like, my interest personally, I would say I want to make sure that the fighters get appropriately compensated. I want to make sure that, for instance, the fans are getting what they deserve. But beyond that, I don't really care. Right? Like, I don't care what Eddie Hearn makes on a fight. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what Al Heyman as an advisor makes on a fight. That's just what
at the end of the day, everybody wants to see the best fight the best, though. That's what it's all about.
Talking about contracts, right?
Go ahead.
Talking about contracts. Question for you, man. What do you feel about, and same thing for you, Dutch. What do you guys feel about, well, I guess he's gone for a minute. Yeah. So a fighter, signing a contract with a promotional company, right? And then trying to renegotiate that contract, say halfway through a 3-year or 5-year deal that they signed, because now they've blown up so much on social media that they feel that
they're worth more.
Mm-hmm. Is that something you think about, that fighters think about before they actually sign that contract with the company?
Honestly, I feel like in some way, it shouldn't. It should. I feel like, I don't know. It's hard to say because actually I haven't gone through that yet. And honestly, I stay ready in the ring, and that's my job. I know what my job is, and I don't worry about those side of that side of the business.
Look what the cat drug in, man. Come and join us, brother.
What's up, Alfonso?
Mr. Alfonso Gomez.
How you doing?
All right, let me shake your hand.
Of course. Have a seat, man.
Hello, everyone. Sorry to interrupt. know?
Says, I see you have a seat, man.
You bought a hat from me the other day, and I was supposed to be here the other day. I just couldn't make it. But thank you for inviting me.
He's back.
Doesn't even
Guess
need a
who's
sound
back?
check. It sounds good right away.
Yeah, he don't
He
need no
knows-
check or
he
nothing,
knows how
man.
to do
I
it.
heard him whenever he was talking over here.
You know Alfonso?
Yeah.
You met him
Of course.
before?
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
hear me?
Yeah, we can
Oh,
hear
I
you,
can't
man.
hear me, so that's all right.
You can't hear you?
Oh, that's because I have to turn his. There you go.
Okay, now I can hear you.
There you go,
There it
man.
is.
What's up, bro?
How you doing, man?
Give your social media to the people. They want to know. They want to follow you.
Follow me on Instagram, MDutchoverBox. Michael Dutchover on Facebook, Twitter, MDutchoverBox.
There you go.
Man, how you been,
There it
Alfonso?
is.
Pretty good. Busy being in a boxerpreneur, boxing influencer, woken boxer, all that good stuff.
You guys run into each other at Legends?
Yes, I've seen Alfonso there.
Yeah, you guys. I know you guys both work out there sometimes.
Yeah.
You're looking different, man. You got the mustache out. Yeah.
I seen
Got the
the
mustache
I
going,
seen the
you know?
comparison to Napoles.
I know. You know what? The thing is that some guy like wrote me and criticized me like, "Hey, you fucking your mustache, you should have it more like you, like thinner, more more aligned, you know?"
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then I was scrolling through the pictures of Nápoles.
Yeah.
And then I saw that he has kind of like the same type of mustache that I
Yeah.
do. And I was like, oh, good. It's a good moment to take a picture and, kind of like simulate one of his photos.
There you go. That's like the old 80s style porn stash, bro.
Yeah.
That's what you got going on right there, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I am a porn star in a way.
in
In the boxing way.
In a boxing way.
Well, thanks for bringing the hat down, man.
Oh,
go.
there you
The
go.
con-
like a glove.
The contender. If-
Contender.
It's
Boom.
it's a limited edition, It's 15-year anniversary since it opened. So Title went and did a whole bunch of them, which you got lucky because it's all sold out now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sold
Nice.
out.
There you
I'm
go,
glad
man.
I'm glad you held it for me.
Yeah,
I appreciate
did.
it.
No problem.
I appreciate it. Thanks for coming down, man.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for I didn't mean to interrupt, but thank you for actually taking the positive side of the interruption.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate
It's
it.
all good, man.
We don't
Make it
mind.
work.
We don't mind.
I
Make it
am
work.
loving the setup.
That's what I
Fucking
said.
loving it. Yeah, totally.
I was telling him every time I come back, something's improving. Like I've been here. I've been
Alfonso,
on this 3 times.
Yeah, you've been here
He
3
he
times.
encouraged us, man. He's like,
He did, man.
That's
cool.
what I'm saying. We're gonna get the sponsorships up pretty soon too. So, like I said, we're gonna start with the first one with Midland Mitsubishi. That's another shout out for you, Midland Mitsubishi. We need a sticker and some money. So just
Better the wheels. Also,
inbox us. Yeah, we'll park a truck back here, man. If you give us a brand new truck, we'll park it back here after every show. We'll figure out a way to knock down the wall, And we just
He doesn't own this gym, by the way, so
we'll set up outside in the parking lot and put 2 brand new Mitsubishi trucks behind us, a sticker on our thing, and we'll go from there, man.
I can't set it up anywhere. But no, very much you inspired this. I remember when you were here, we had a conversation about the set and some of the ways that we can improve upon it, and having the sign back here and some things up here. And so I had a week off, and this is what I did with my week off. I went
everything
and-
is about.
Can we have an air conditioning in here next week, bro?
I'll work on it, bro.
Jesus Christ.
Congratulations on all your
Thank you.
success,
I
man,
appreciate
and
that.
you're getting that fight
Yes,
over
sir.
there.
Yes, sir.
And
it's a
keep
dream come
getting
true.
those victories.
It's his first
keep training.
first fighting at home, man. He hasn't had a homecoming in Texas yet, so he'll be out in Texas.
Last time I fought in Midland, I was, I believe, 15 years old, fighting for the Golden Gloves, to make it out of the local, the West Texas Golden Gloves, and fighting there, and not coming back as a professional on Showtime as the main event. It doesn't get better than that.
Is any other boxers out of Midland?
Oh yes, yeah, there's been actually one of my friends, Jose Salazar, Pepe Salazar. He was a professional, and he had, I believe, like 4 fights. Also James Land is fighting from. He just made his pro debut actually a couple months ago. He's 1-0. So
Any world champions from out there?
no
So
world
hopefully the
champions,
first one right here, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Working on it.
Working,
Working on it.
Awesome.
working, staying in the gym.
Alfonso, I know that when you were here, we talked about you potentially getting back in the ring. I've seen a lot of things because I follow you on Instagram, obviously, and all these different channels. Most recently, throwing a challenge out to Liam Beefy Smith. Are you serious about that? You want to fight Liam Smith? Or?
Yeah, well, we had conversations on WhatsApp, before, and I kind of posted him online, and he fucking got pissed off. He's like, yo, mate, don't do that, mate, don't do that. I was like, what the fuck? Don't be posting our conversations. Whatever.
Beat his ass.
Yeah,
Tell him to put it.
Well, the thing,
talk in the ring.
The thing is that they were setting up Omar Chavez for Liam Smith. Everything was so set up that right now he's gonna fight in Mexico. Liam Smith is gonna fight in Mexico, and initially, the whole Omar Chavez against me thing was going on, but they saw a better opportunity fighting Liam Smith because I think he has a WBC silver belt. So for Chavez, it was a bigger opportunity. So he's like, fuck Gomez. He tried to go over there, but Chavez fucked up. He lost a match that he should have won. So that whole Liam Smith Omar Chavez thing fell through. Liam Smith's still gonna fight in Mexico. He wants to get a name out there. So in my mind, it's like, oh, you want to fight Mexicans? Well, I got the mustache.
Vámonos.
Vámonos, mijo.
Cabrón.
So yeah, it's something that I'm gonna try to grow online. The whole Liam Smith.
Yeah.
And he seems to be like he kind of gets the bait more. He gets mad at little things here and there. So I'm gonna see if I can build that up a bit and see what happens.
You should make like a poster. Put like the Mexican flag and the UK flag and you and Smith.
He posted one with like Liam Smith with the Mexican flag in the background or something.
I can't remember. I'm doing stuff all the time online. Like I told you last time, I'm just constantly doing different things, testing stuff, and the landscape of social media and boxers is so open. So an advice for you, bro, grow you social media, become powerful there. Yeah. Because once you have power on social media, you have power in the world.
Okay, now question for you. This is a question I asked Michael when you were coming in, and you had walked away for a second. Because of your boxing influence stuff that you're doing now and social media. Recently, Ryan Garcia, right, has said he didn't want to fight for Golden Boy. He didn't want to fight with Romero Duno because he felt that he needed to be the co-main event or the main event, not the co-main event, because of all his followers. He sells out. Now, when a fighter signs his contract, whether it's a 3-year or 5-year contract, whatever deal they sign, do you feel that halfway through that contract that a fighter has the right to renegotiate because of the fact that they've now developed the following and got 3 million followers on Instagram? Do you feel that they have that right to try to renegotiate for more money?
Yeah, I mean, hell yeah, they have the right to do that. And not only that, every fighter should some way or another, when they get together with the promoters, they should bring their own lawyer, and try to write things up for them. Because the way that things are set up right now, the only lawyer or person savvy enough that knows about contracts is a manager. But the manager is affiliated with a promoter all the time. There's nobody that knows law, that knows contracts, affiliated with a fighter. So that's something that all boxers should think about. When you guys get together and try to make contracts, the promoter has his lawyer, which is the manager in a way. The fighter should bring his own lawyer too. Be like, hey, let's do this. Let's set up something. And that's cool. I mean, now that everybody's listening, if you're a fighter, you're going to get signed. Make sure you have stipulations that it says, if halfway through the fucking contract, I am more than, I've developed so much, then there's renegotiations going on.
Because it had came out in the media that in his last fight at Fantasy Springs that Ryan had, or Golden Boy had generated over $1 million in revenue and only paid Ryan out $50,000. So he was a little sour over that, right? Like, hey, my next fight, if you guys are going to be generating that type of money, maybe should be seeing more of that.
I told you last time that there's hierarchies in boxing, and there shouldn't be hierarchies. I told you last time that the hierarchy is the promoters up here, he's the boss, then the manager, then the trainer, and then the fighters all the way down here. And that shouldn't be it. We're all different entities. We all do our job. The promoter promotes, the manager manages, the fucking trainer trains, and the boxer boxes, But with that same thing, at the end of the day, if there were no promoters, no managers, and no trainers, they'd still be boxers. So boxers should have more say and more power than we have right now.
This is actually, last week we had La Cobra Ruiz here, and we were talking about this because there's all these instances now if you look at Andy Ruiz and Regis Prograis and people where they're saying, oh, well, there's these contractual stipulations and these contracts are needing to be renegotiated or perhaps they'll fall through or whatever the case is. And I made that same exact comment, which is who has the fighter's interest in mind as they go through these negotiations? Because at the end of the day, if it is a lawyer who works for the management company or the promotional entity, it's not actually your lawyer. It's their lawyer.
Exactly.
Right? And they're working in the interest of those of themselves, essentially, and not necessarily of the fighter.
Are you signed?
Yes.
With Top Rank?
Thompson and Banner Promotions.
Thompson over there at
Ontario.
Ontario.
Yes.
Yeah, I like Thompson. He's a cool guy. But did you have your lawyer present?
Yes.
You have your own lawyer?
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. See, guys, learn. That's why he's gonna be fucking headlining his own fucking show in hometown.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who else? Who else at what are you 12-0? 13-0. Who else at 13-0 is headlining in Midland, Texas, in their hometown on Showtime?
Showtime, exactly.
You know, and that pays dividends to his manager as well, to Danny Zamora. Paid. Oh, there shouldn't be money in boxing. Sorry about that, Sean. Didn't mean to rub your feathers the wrong way. No, but big shout out to
body shots.
to Danny Zamora. You know, Danny's had a stable of fighters for a long time. I mean, everybody from Darlis Perez to Peter Petrov, yourself, Ruben Villa,
Yanni Perez,
champion. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, he's been around the game a long time. Great guy, good manager, and I think that's what it starts with. It starts with just having good people around you. People that are going to look out for your best interest, especially when you come up young from the amateur career and you don't know, or maybe your family doesn't know, to have a good people with a sense of what the hell's going on around you. That's what it starts with. And then, and like you said, having lawyers, having people that are going to look out for your best interest. It goes from there, because now, I mean, shit, Garcia's been on the shelf for a while now.
See, Ryan Garcia, and you yourself too, some way or another, you got to know that you guys are business already. As soon as you decided to be a boxer, you are the CEO of your brand, you know, Mike, your brand. So with that said, man, take a business course. Every fighter should take a business course to understand how business works. Is run. Yeah.
So
otherwise,
you don't get run over.
So otherwise, you're gonna be blind. Being in the sport as a businessman. Yeah.
You know, there's one other aspect I want to bring up while we get an opportunity and you're here. You made this tremendous video. You originally did it in Spanish, and then you re-recorded it in English.
Yes.
Where you were demonstrating the concussive power and how that affects the human brain. So you did it with an egg in
water.
I
saw that.
An egg and water.
Thanks.
And I think that
it's very true.
Tremendous and very powerful example, I think, for that demonstration. And this was, of course, in the aftermath of two very tragic incidents, one being Maxim Dadashev, a local guy who was fighting out of Oxnard, things like that, who suffered the greatest tragedy in the ring. And since then, I've been doing a lot of thinking and evaluation about what types of things would create improvement in the sport of boxing in this way. So what can we do to make it better? If we could change rules, what could we change to make it better? And as I've gone through this, I've come across this series of things that people have recommended, some of which I agree with and some of which I don't agree with. But I do want to kind of pose them to you guys just to understand what you think of this specific set of rules and how it would impact you as fighters, or Stacks, perhaps what you would think as someone who's been a member of the boxing media. So one thing that I mentioned on the last show is something that One Fighting Championship, as I understand it, does. And admittedly, I don't know anything about MMA, but they have what's called a walking weight policy, which means that when they're performing urine tests, they're actually testing you for the level of dehydration in your urine. So within 60 days of an event, you can only be within 106% of your weight. And as you go through and you lose weight, you have to be testing to prove that it's not shedding water weight, that you're actually doing it through nutrition and exercise. What this means is that effectively you have to fight people who are your size or bigger. You can't go down and fight small men. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is because this is the brain example, dehydrating the brain and causing all of that thing. What would you guys think if we said, hey, you have to fight at least around the weight that you just wear casually or above that, but we're not going to let you drain your bodies and fight below that. I'll start it, since it was your example, I'll start at that end.
Yeah, that's a very good. I didn't know that the UFC did that, so that's very smart to do. I mean, it's all really analytical and numbers and stuff like that. I think at the end of the day, it starts with the mentality of the fighter. You know,
the discipline of the fighters.
The discipline, the mentality of the fighter to say, no, I want to fight at this weight. This is my comfort weight. Also, there's a lot of factors. I mean, we understand that the matchmaker. Last time some matchmaker said, hey, you never mentioned the matchmakers. Well, I'm going to mention now. The matchmaker is associated with a promoter. You know, the promoter has a fighter. So the matchmaker's job is to look for a fighter that the A side is going to, win, obviously. With that said, the job of the matchmaker is to actually have a fighter that has that discrepancy in talent, discrepancy in, just different. It should be more even, first of all. You know, the matchmaker should be like, okay, let's make an even fight. Even though, he might win, he might not win, it should be more even too. The dehydration or rehydration clauses now that they put in on the fighters, what kind of bullshit is that? We already tested. We already know that dehydration is horrible for a fighter in the ring. Now, when you come in and put a rehydration clause, like, you can go more than 10 pounds, that is so bad. That is terrible. That is terrible.
In a way, it's condoning dehydration.
It's condoning that. Yeah, it's
almost fight dehydrated. Yeah.
It's condoning it, and and the worst thing is that nowadays it seems almost like a ritual. It's not even that once in a while a fighter dehydrates. No, every single fighter that gets on that scale comes in dehydrated.
Exactly.
It's like a ritual. It starts to not make sense once you start putting numbers together and everything together, the death tolls, the dangers. It does not make sense anymore. So having something like that, or having more rules, having an organization that is not associated, not with a promoter, not with anybody, but with the fighter's health, that could help a lot.
And you were mentioning, Mike, discipline. Can you explain a little bit about what you meant by that when you say, well, what this is about is the discipline of the fighter?
Being around your weight class, all year round. Like, that's basically what it is, and not, blowing up 30 pounds after fights. And, that's just part of the being a professional, I believe.
Yeah, we had went up to camp one time. May have said this in here before, where we had went up to see Triple G before he started a camp, right? We were up in Big Bear, and his walk around weight was 168, 169ish. Yeah. And he fights at and he was fighting at 160. He's always fought at 160, so his walk around weight was only 9 pounds heavier than what he's fighting at, because it's comfortable for him and he's not killing himself to make that weight, and he stays in shape.
Yep.
Even after the fight, he's taking a week off maybe, but he's not going out and eating a quarter pounder with cheese and fries, or maybe he is, and his metabolism's just knocking it down, but he's not eating 3 or 4 of them, and then he gets back into the gym and he continues the same routine over and over and over.
He probably went to Texas, grabbed a couple of Whataburgers.
Yeah, he said, fuck that In and Out.
It's because he's a professional, That's why he's so recognized. He's so loved. Yeah. It's just the way he is. He's a healthy fighter inside and outside.
A real athlete. That's what an athlete should be.
Yeah, and I think you see more examples of this now. The people who are most prominently in the sport, your Floyd Mayweathers, your Klitschko's, these are people who stay in shape. They're not like you said, they're not ballooning in between fights and gaining 60 pounds and then trying to lose that as an effort to fight, smaller men. I will give, obviously I've given my opinion on this subject in the past, but I do believe in a walking weight policy. I believe that if this is in fact how one fighting championship does business, that we should learn something from that model and utilize it for the sport of boxing. And it's really the intention of the sport, meaning anything besides that is, like you said, it's ritualistic, but you're now sort of we're at a thing where men aren't really competing within their weight class, and weight classes are more of a guideline than they are a true a true rule, I guess, in the sport of boxing.
Big shout out to Big Serge Estrada, the Cutman Serge. You're around the gym all the time, Serge. I mean, take a second, type in, let us know how bad dehydration really is. I mean, I know what we see at weigh-ins. I know what we see in the public eye, but you see it behind closed doors. You see it the week before these fighters are weighing in, man. I mean, let us know. And I'm not saying to give up names or give up gyms or anything like that, but just how prevalent is it in the industry?
Have you seen those weigh-ins where the fighters like?
Yeah, where they have to hold him up.
Hold him up.
Yeah.
Who was
that immediately should be like cancel.
Coach Jerry showed me the video of the MMA fighter, the girl Cyborg. Yeah, she lost 26 pounds in 3 days.
Yeah, see, that's
and
dangerous.
So
I can't.
Yeah, like there was a video that had floated around, I'd say about a month and a half ago, right? Of a girl that they brought a hoop in, right? Had like a cloth around it, and she stood on it, and then after it, she was passing out or whatnot. So I recognized the guy from the commission, and I ran into him at one of the Thompson fights, and I asked him, "How could you, as a commissioner working, let them fight like that?
How could you even let him be on the scale?"
And
what did he say?
So this is what he told me. He's told me that she was fine before the weigh-in. It wasn't because of weight loss. He said that she had a panic attack and she was nervous, and that's why she was shaking. She seen right, and this is what I was told, that she had a panic attack, and afterwards they took her off stage. She took a few deep breaths and she was fine, but they weren't going to let her fight. But it wasn't dehydration, or wasn't because that she was shaking because of the weight loss. She was shaking because of a panic attack. So
that's crazy. Everybody, follow me at El Gomez Boxing in all the social medias. This is the same handle, and follow him at
Dutchover Box, Instagram, and Michael Dutchover on Facebook.
You should be saying this 100 times an episode. That's what he wants you to know.
Yeah. So what was the other one? You had a few.
Okay, there are a few. Yeah. So the next one is an interesting idea. The idea was an overall 8 count, which means that we reduce the time that we would allow for someone to get up from a knockdown. So now, historically, and obviously according to the rules, we allow 10 seconds, a referee's count of 10 seconds. What if we reduce that to 8 seconds? Would that make a difference?
Oh, shit.
That one's interesting,
cool.
right?
Yeah, that was interesting.
I don't know. Interesting.
It's a weird thing. I don't know if that's gonna make a difference. Do you think it will make a difference? 2 seconds?
Well, I think that
I don't think so.
I think that.
Or, I mean,
the intention is to kind of do, like, there's a difference between what we refer to as a flash knockdown or a slip compared to someone who's actually struggling to get to their feet.
That makes me think about the Rocky movies whenever they're getting up all slow. Or Rocky and Creed getting up, and then he's counting 1, 2, they got to be there. They're still, like, halfway at 9. And then so if that was 8, they'd be out, So
I don't agree with that, man. I don't agree with it. I don't because most of the referees I know here in California. I'm not speaking for other states. I'm speaking for the commission here in California, the refs here in California. If you get up, if Alfonso goes down and he gets up, he sits there and he gets up, he makes the 10 count, and they continue with an onslaught of punishment, they're gonna jump in. They're gonna stop the fight. If they look at him and his eyes are glary and he can't move to the side after 10 seconds, they're going to wave off the fight. So moving it to 8 seconds, to me, it doesn't do anything because fighters aren't getting hurt with the big one-punch knockouts. If you get hit hard,
it's an accumulation.
It's an accumulation of the punches. So to me, if you go down due to an accumulation of punches because you need to take a knee or take a 8 or take a 10 now, and you get up and then you keep getting hit, they're going to stop the fight. Either your corner's going to stop it, the ref's going to jump in and stop it, or shit, you might just get hit one more good time and you're going to be out. I mean, but either way, to me, the 2 seconds isn't going to make that big of a difference as far as the health and safety of the fighter goes. I don't believe so. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think.
Yeah. So on your first option that you gave us, thumbs up. I really like that one.
This one?
On this one, thumbs down. Yeah,
I don't the thing that
next.
I legitimately don't think that anybody would disagree. Yeah, nobody would disagree with a walking weight policy, which makes it strange why we don't have one, right? Because you look at it and you go, everybody can sit here and say logically it makes sense, but that's not what we do.
Because you're gonna fight the same fighters either way. Right? If you're cutting, if you guys are both 140 and you guys are both cutting to 130 to make weight, then you guys are still going to fight at 130. If you guys are both walking around at 140, you're still going to fight each other at 140.
Yeah.
There's no difference.
But the safety is going to be much more. So on the first one, yes. On the second one, no. What's the next one?
Okay, the next one. This actually came from Chael Sonnen. I watched Chael Sonnen do a quick clip on YouTube where he described that the the main way that we can prevent harm to the fighter is by reducing the overall duration of the contest. And this will be obviously controversial, but his points were kind of sound. And the points were this, that you have men who compete at an Olympic level. So, for instance, 3 years ago, this would be Vasily Lomachenko, people who are as good as Lomachenko competing at Olympic level without headgear, and they're able to fight multiple times in a period of days without sustaining tremendous amounts of damage to themselves. And that the main reasoning for this is the duration of the contest, because they're fighting at the elite level. They're fighting people who are supremely skilled and who will also become professionals probably in the very near future, right? And so he didn't prescribe a specific duration. He's not saying, hey, we need to take it down to 5 rounds or 6 rounds. But what he's saying is you can see that at an amateur level that the difference is the duration. And once you shorten it, you can fight many times in shorter periods of time. So it's kind of hard to argue with, but I can also see why it would be a very unpopular opinion. So who wants to go first? Let's start at that end.
I'll start. Bullshit. And I'll tell you why, man. If you look at Lomachenko's style, even now, even on the professional level, it's a pitter-patter style until he gets them hurt, and then he goes for the kill. And amateur fighters, as you know, because I've seen plenty of amateur fights, I just don't report on it and do it as much as I do the professional. But you've seen it in the amateur level. It's a point scoring system where even if you tap the body, you tap the head, you tap, and it's a point. It's a point. And
it is all the same fighters, meaning all those guys are going to end up being pros.
But exactly. But if you fight that style in the pros, the pro style is completely different. You're going out there trying to hurt somebody. You're putting power behind these punches. And you see the knockouts. You don't see the knockouts in the amateurs. You just don't. Yeah, you see 1 or 2, but they are few and far between because
most of them are RSCs, like the ref stops contest, because you can just tell he's outclassed. But you don't see no knockouts.
And they're standing 8 counts. I seen one in Vegas last Saturday where a kid got hit with 3 punches consecutive, a combination. He got hit the 4th time. They stopped it, called an 8 count, and then let the kid fight again so he wouldn't get hurt.
And it's also in the amateurs, I believe, if its kid's head is snapped back, that's an 8 count.
That's an 8 count, exactly. So, no, they're professional. There's professional boxing for a reason. And they all know what they're getting into. As far as... Don't say that. Yeah, don't say that. It's complete. No, it's completely
That's
different.
Absolute nonsense. That's absolute nonsense.
No, it's not absolutely
I'm gonna have to
nonsense.
dissect you here.
No, let's do it then. Come on.
You didn't watch my Instagram clip.
No, I didn't watch your Instagram clip.
You guys got to stop saying that. Now, here's why. Okay, every individual who's a professional understands that there is danger in fighting.
Correct.
Agreed? You guys understand that there is danger.
Yes.
Okay? I understand, for instance, when I go driving, that there are dangers in driving.
Yes.
If I die in a tragic car crash on the way home, people don't get to sit here and say, oh, you know what? He understood the dangers of driving. He understood. He knew what it meant to go be driving. It's still tragic, and it didn't need to happen. If a drunk driver kills me on the way home, you don't go, oh, he knew what it meant. He knew the dangers. These guys know the dangers of boxing.
But that doesn't
mean they sign up to die.
But this was nothing about. This is nothing about
death.
But this is nothing about death. This is about the type of style. You asked a question about having that amateur of fighting shorter fights.
Yes, but the context of these questions is around Maxim Dadashev, people who are suffering severe tragedy.
But why?
And we don't look at that. But we shouldn't look at that as a community and say, you know what, he knew what he signed up for. No, he knew what he signed up for because he didn't. He did not sign up for that.
No, exactly. He didn't. But you have to dissect why. How much weight did he lose? Did he have a fight before? Were there internal...
But that's why we're having this conversation.
Did they walk through that commission in Maryland? Did they walk through him the neurological exams that he would get in Las Vegas or that he would get here in California, right? There's more to it. There's... the kid from Argentina had just fought 30 days before and had been tragically knocked out and then fought 30 days later, right? Why didn't the sanctioning body step in?
But the point is, hey, we got to stop doing that. We all understand that there's danger.
Exactly.
Nobody signs up to be crippled. Nobody signs up to be maimed. Nobody signs up to have like Parkinson's and all these diseases and stuff when they come out. And I would assert that as a boxing community, none of us want that for any fighter. I want the best health for all of you guys, and I don't ever want to see someone seriously injured in a boxing
And,
ring.
and neither do I. And the reason I
and
said
I-
they know what they're getting into is they know that they're stepping into fight 10-round and 12-round fights. I'm not saying they know what they're getting into, but each and every one of these guys knows that they're risking their life every time they get into the ring.
No, I don't
Yes,
agree.
you don't agree.
I don't agree.
Do you think that every time you get in the ring that you're risking
So
your life?
when you get in the ring, you think you might die by the end of that fight?
I don't think anybody thinks that.
Of course not.
Nah,
of course
I
they
think-
don't.
I'm not saying you're thinking you're gonna die. I'm saying that you know that there's that possibility is always there.
How about this? Have you ever even stepped in the ring and thought you were going to lose?
No. No, every
Look
time we
they
step
don't
in-
even think they're going to lose, let alone die. Like, that's crazy.
They're putting okay.
So what's your take on his to reduce the rounds, the amount of rounds?
In the professionals,
Yeah,
like,
as a professional.
thumbs down. Like, I mean,
Well,
this
Meaning
is a
you're prepared
professional.
for it, you're
I-
trained for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, at the end of the day, we have to realize that boxing is a game between two fighters to see who is the best one, whether it's 15 rounds, 12 rounds,
And because
10 rounds,
yeah.
5 rounds. If somebody stipulates that, okay, from now on we're going to go 10 rounds or 8 rounds for that matter, then it's the fighter's job, and everybody now has to concentrate to win the game in 8 rounds.
For that
So whether
amount
it's
of rounds.
15, 12, 10, or 8, it's about the ultimate game. It's one fighter is better than the other in determined time. You know, now going into the safety, I kind of like that idea. Let me tell you why. When I was in the Contender, every single fight was fucking exciting because we only had 5 or 7 rounds
Thank you.
to win. So losing 1 round meant you already lost 20% of the fight. Losing 2 rounds then means you fucking lost already 40% of the fight. So it allowed us to really push ourselves from the beginning until the end of the fight, not get hit as much prolonged time, make the fights much more exciting, and at the end of the day, there was a winner and a loser, which determined who was a better fighter. So for that, I'm going to give you a thumbs up.
I think it's interesting because the one example that I think we can use, aside from the Contender, that happens right now is Ultimate Boxer. I don't know if you guys have ever watched the Ultimate Boxer tournaments that they put on in the UK. They're professional boxing tournaments where they have like a bracket of 16 that fight to a single winner in one day. And the way that they do that is they fight 3-round fights. So they fight 3-round fights with this guy, and then they move on, and the next person fight. So the most that you can fight is 12 rounds in a day.
At the end of the day, I think a better fighter can beat you with 1 round or in 12 rounds just because he's better than you. I mean, whether the fight is prolonged or not has nothing to do with the skill level of a fighter. If I'm better than you, I can beat you in 1 round or I can beat you in 10 rounds.
Well, here's the thing with that, right? So you have somebody like Jesse Vargas, for instance, who fights Adrian Bronner, clearly wins the first 6 rounds, then maybe wins 1 or 2 of the back 6 because now he's starting to get winded because he's not trained properly or what. For one reason or the other, he's starting to lose his energy. His energy level's gone down. Bronner's starting to outbox him. Now you have a closer fight at the end of 12 rounds, which can be a draw.
the thing is because it's 12
is
rounds.
it skill now? Is it skill or
No,
is it
because
a
it's
training? Yeah.
Because it's 12 rounds, they already make plans for that.
Yeah.
Thinking, okay, I'm gonna like Mayweather against what's his name, McGregor.
Yeah.
He knew that the beginning he was just gonna make him get tired because he knew he wasn't gonna last that long, and after that he pretty much destroyed him. But if the fighters knew that they had to fight 8 rounds, they would prepare for 8 rounds. Maybe half of the fight it wouldn't be 6 no more; it would be 4. So the first 4 rounds, let's just play it safe, and then the second half of the fight, which is the other 4 rounds, let's just push. So I like that idea actually. I don't think it would take anything away from boxing. I don't think it would take anything away from the skill level of the fighters. So yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Okay, I'll do one more because Stax, you actually mentioned this one before as it relates to amateurs, and we had it at one point in the professional ranks, which was reinstating the standing 8 count, right?
Yeah.
And I've heard different philosophies on this. Referee Steve Willis, I think Bill Santos actually shared with me a video that of him responding to, he's against it, very much against it, but responding to reinstating the standing 8 count. Where would you guys fall on standing 8 counts in professional ranks?
Yeah, I mean, you need standing 8 counts if a guy's taking punishment and he's hurt. And I like how if a guy is held by the ropes, I feel like that should be a standing out count. Like they take punishment and they lean back, and the rope catches them. Like that should be an 8 count, and and it's for their safety, to recover. But at that has to deal with training also, because if you're a good conditioned fighter, you can recover from a standing 8 count. You're not knocked out. And so.
That's interesting. Yeah. Go ahead. I'll give you this one.
I agree with it. I just think like Michael says, you take the punishment, it stops, give the fighter a break, take a look at him, give him the 8 count, let him recover. If it continues, punishment continues, he can't defend himself, fights off. Yeah. And it stops those brutal knockouts where
accumulation of punches,
where there's no standing 8 count, but you don't want to jump in there too soon as a ref, because your fighter's tough and he may throw that punch that connects and knocks out his opponent, but then he gets cracked, he goes down, hits his head. Now you have not just the punch, but the actual hit to the canvas.
That's an interesting one. Well, it depends. It's like if we keep it at 12 rounds, then I guess eight standing 8 count could actually be cool. But if we do reduce the rounds, maybe that wouldn't be cool, because something has to differentiate amateur from pros.
And it also affects the point system too, because if you get an 8 count, that you win the round by it's 10-8.
Round. Yeah, at least in amateur, when you do get that 8, you just get a point 10 get away. It's not like that you lose a round that big. So I agree on reducing the rounds. I agree on having that, you cannot fight beyond that weight limit, but I do not agree with the standing 8 count.
So reducing the rounds, are you saying that a world championship fight would be like 10 rounds?
10 rounds and a regular
10-round fight.
10-round fight, maybe 8-round fight, for that matter. At the end of the day, it's about playing a game against another person and beating him. It doesn't matter how many rounds it is.
Maybe we should just look into some historical data and see between 1975 and 85, when the fights were going 15 rounds before Duk Kim got killed, how many deaths they had went in 15-round fights, and then how many they had afterwards, and realize, is it really the amount of punishment that they're taking? Is it the dehydration? Is it the changing of...
Or some combination.
Or a combination of everything, because there's more to it. The WBC works close. They work hand in hand, and they're actually doing a lot of scientific research right now with UCLA. One of the questions from your dad, it is Jerry Dutchover this time, is that scientists... working the dilemma on the NFL concussions, why not boxing? They do work on it in boxing. They do study it, but it's not all states. Not all states have athletic commissions that have oversight on combat sports. Iowa, West Virginia, Alabama. There's a lot of certain states that just don't have the same experience as people in Nevada or California do. That's why it's when some of these fights happen in some of those states, Daniel Franco, for instance, in Iowa, the closest hospital for him was like 3 hours away, Where here in California, for instance, they have to have a trauma surgeon within 30 miles of the venue. Saboba Casino, I was telling you about this the last time I was on here.
Yeah.
They had their closest hospital trauma center was Loma Linda, which was 60 minutes away. So what they did is they paid, there's the sirens, they paid a a brain surgeon to be on hand at the hospital on the Indian grounds, so if something happened, they could take that fighter to that hospital on Indian grounds, and they had a doctor there that was, used to performing those type of traumatic brain injuries or to work on a fighter if something were to happen. Where other states, they don't take the time to look at that, So I mean, there's more to it. I mean, it's a combination of a lot of things, from dehydration, like El Gomez said, to accumulation of punching, to maybe moving it from 12 to 10 rounds. I don't know. Medical records, for instance, people having the same type of evaluations in California as they do in New York and in Texas. There has to be a unified medical records.
Where everybody comes together.
Everybody should be able to jump on their phone or their iPad and look and say, okay, Gomez, he was knocked out in Texas. This is his medical conditions. Where you guys sign a HIPAA release to all the doctors, and there's an ABC rule of a medical board where across the country they see you. If you fight in New York, you see the same doctors, or not the same doctors, but the same medical board as you do in California, Vegas, Texas, wherever you guys fight. There's one medical board. The same way that there's a WBC, there's a WBO, WBA, maybe there should be one medical board that looks at the fighters that,
I think this is
that
you were
just
saying
cuts
earlier.
part of your purse. You know
Not
what
the
I mean?
sanctioning bodies, but like an entity that is not related or associated to any of those other things, right?
Yeah, because
Medical entities.
at the end of the day, everybody's for their own interest, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Exactly.
it's normal. If somebody's interest was, you know, personal, but meaning, oh, I want more money, for example, but me getting more money means I'm helping the fighter more. Oh, hell yeah, dude. You know, there's an entity that gets a lot more money by saving more fighters. That would be the shit.
So I think before we wrap up, I'll just give my take on the standing 8 because I am in the minority on this one. I do believe that Steve Willis converted me with his logic, and I can't say that it's medically sound, but his point that he's making in the video that I watched at least is that it actually – the traumatic injuries or the tragic injuries that we experience, and someone said this already, they don't really come from a single concussive blow, right? They come from people who are accumulating damage over periods of time, and that actually the standing 8 counts in ways extend someone's ability to take more punches. So what that means is that a fighter who's in trouble then gets 8 seconds to recover and goes back to being hit again. Whereas if you let that play out in real time, there's a very good chance that he could be knocked down and the fight perhaps stopped. So what you're doing is you're preventing stoppages too early and actually allowing fighters to conceivably take more damage because there are so many standing 8 counts being implemented. And so I would have to see some kind of study or something on it, but logically it made sense to me, and so I was thumbs down on the standing 8 count.
One thing I want to add on the reducing the rounds is that what came to my mind was because we're supposed to be professional athletes, you know, people, the fans, you know, they pay to see the highest level of fighting is we're professionals.
True.
Just like, you know, in college basketball, they have 12-minute quarters, you know, and they go to professional. Yeah. They move up to 12-minute quarters.
3-point lines are different.
3-point lines, like, and it's all. So that's what comes to mind. My point of view from bringing the rounds on, like, because people want to pay for the 12-round fights. You know, see if somebody loses their conditioning past 8 rounds, and so that's why it makes a championship fight. You know, they say the championship rounds are 11 and 12, and so that's what I think about that. Like, that's just my opinion.
I will say that I think that these are the types of conversations that need to be had in the sport of boxing. And even though we have differences of opinion up here on virtually every one of these issues, they're the conversations that I think need to be going on. So I appreciate each of you taking the time to give me your opinion on these particular topics. And before we sign off, I also want to give everyone an opportunity to plug once again their specific Instagram sponsorships, whatever it is that you respectively want to plug. So I will start, Alfonso, at your end of the table, and we'll work our way down.
All right, guys, you know where it is. El Gomez Boxing, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, linking, everywhere. Just shooting out information. If there's more platforms, let me know so I can be on that shit too.
And follow me. Mine's not as easy as just one name. I have 2 names: Michael Dutchover on Facebook, Dutchover Boxing on every other social media platform. And you know, I want to thank my sponsors: Veta de Wheels, Iconic Apparel, Everlast, my boy Ernie. Shout out to my boy Ernie.
Midland
Mitsubishi.
Gotcha.
Thank you. And September 20th.
That's right.
Bringing a show. Showtime. You know, we're putting on a show in West Texas. And, you know, I can't wait. Can't wait.
Man, first, real quick, shout out to Jeff Joyner. He's watching.
Joyner said hi.
What's up, Jeff? How you doing, Jeff?
You can follow me on social media at Supreme Boxing on Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook. Also follow the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame. We just had a great 2019 induction gala, man, last weekend in Vegas. So everything was great. Brought my boy back.
Brought me the glove.
Nice autographed glove, man. Be sure to catch Michael and get your tickets, man. If you're in the Texas area and you guys are going to that fight, you need to get your tickets now. Half of them are already sold out. It's going to sell out. It's the first time that Showtime's ever been in Midland. And you know, you people in Midland want to see your hometown boy, you know, get that step closer to a championship fight, man. Go out there, support Michael. Don't blow up his phone. Don't ask for free tickets, man. You guys buy Jay-Z CDs and download Apple Music. You guys can buy a ticket to his damn fight. I already told him he needs to get a burner phone because his phone keeps blowing up. Unless you're a sponsor, trying to give him some money, leave him alone. Let him train and let him get ready for that fight. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. Make sure to follow us on Beat the Count as well on all the social media platforms. Beat the Count on Facebook and on Instagram. Sean still hasn't set up a Twitter yet, but he's getting there.
I'll work on it. I don't have that much to say. No, I'm just kidding. So, of course, yes, you can follow me at Beat the Count on Facebook, at Beat the Count on Instagram. Shout out real quick to Anthony Garcia. You can follow Anthony at Iconic Apparel on Instagram. And, of course, Combat Sports Collective. Thank you for the lovely water. What are you talking? You drank the whole water, bro.
It's water.
Is it? Combat Sports Collective.
This get you high?
It worked for Anthony. Follow them on Instagram at Combat Sports Collective. And that's all I have for you this week. Thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate everyone.
Peace.
Peace.